trying, baby, trying to hold back this feeling for so long. And if you feel like I feel, baby, then come on.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Angelic Sounds. My name is Angel. Last video, we were talking about anxiety and how it affects us as performers. But sometimes you have to prepare for someone else to perform, and this comes into play when you're a teacher. Okay, so this is going for the people that are planning on teaching at some point in their life. So today's video is going to be specific about how to prepare kids or your students for a recital, okay, for the recital setting. So there are a few things that I do as a teacher to help my students get prepared for when it comes to actual singing or performing in front of an audience. You have to take into consideration that this. Just imagine us right now. If we feel frightened by the idea of us getting on stage, imagine a little kid trying to go through that. So it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. There's not really a formula to say, hey, this is what you should do with your students. But this is most of the time what I do as a teacher to help my students at least deal with all this anxiety or thoughts that may come into their head. So the first thing that you need to know is that they need to be well prepared. So they need to practice a lot of this stuff. Their recital rep. They need to be practicing in the classroom setting, and they need to be practicing at home, where they can do that past the amount of hours or minutes that a lesson could go for. So for example, let's say that the lesson goes for 30 minutes. You should take those 30 minutes and make it into 2 hours of practice in a week at least, for if it's little kids. Now, not only do they have to be well prepared, you also have to know that you cannot just tell them, hey, practice. Or hey, you need to be doing this as part of your homework. You need to put this in a rational way that they can understand. First of all, simplify it a little bit and tell them, hey, look, if you're preparing for this much, you're preparing this much because of this concert that is coming up, then it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be flawless, or at least that's what you want to tell them. At least something to guide them, to make them feel more comfortable about it. So yeah, they need to prepare very well at home, as much as they do in the classroom, and you need to put it in words that they can understand. Why are they practicing? Maybe say, hey, it's part of your homework. Or if you're taking piano classes, it's part of your homework, just like any other subject that you're taking, math, science, social studies, anything like that, okay? Another thing that I love to take into consideration is the mental health of the actual student. So it's good to have a relationship, teacher-student, when it comes to these things. So yeah, I usually build up my relation with my students by asking them, hey, how are you? How are your classes going? How's everything at home? If they're singing, how is your voice feeling? Did you have anything? What do you do over the week? Did you practice? How much did you practice? Stuff like this to get to know them better. It's always good. It really takes. It's a relationship that you have to build with your students. So getting to know them better, it's definitely one important thing, and something that comes in handy is knowing if they're comfortable performing in front of an audience, in front of other people. Maybe not necessarily 30 people in a room, 100 people, 1,000 people in a room. Maybe just performing in front of their parents could be a very hard task for them to complete. So along with practicing, I would say making them practice in front of someone else, make them play in front of someone else before the actual day of the performance is very important. Making sure that they're comfortable and they can see the eyes of someone else looking at them while they're playing the piano. It's definitely going to help them in the long run. Also, another thing that I like to do, aside from having a small audience, is having mental walkthroughs. So what I tell them is, look, the day of the concert, you're gonna be dressed up nice. I try to paint the picture. You're gonna be on a stage. You're gonna have your keyboard, or you're gonna have your mic. I'm gonna be playing the piano for you, or someone else is gonna be accompanying you when you sing, stuff like that. Now the piano is gonna be facing this way, and you're gonna be facing this way to the audience, stuff like that, to make them feel more comfortable with the actual day of the performance, so it doesn't feel very strange to them when it actually when the day comes. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about is making sure they're comfortable. Now, we've talked about making sure they're comfortable with someone else. Now we need to make sure, and I would say this is the most important one, making sure they're comfortable with themselves. Okay? I used to have a very shy student that she would not talk to me at all. I would ask her, hey, how are you feeling? How's your voice feeling today? What are you doing? What are your plans on for the rest of the week or for the rest of the day after your lesson? Something like that. She would just nod. She would just say, I don't know. She would just say, well, hopefully I'm gonna, I don't know, do anything. But like, she wouldn't really answer. She wouldn't really talk to me. So what I started doing is that I started making her tell me 5 things that she liked about her week, and 2 things that she liked about her singing. So that got her to start talking a lot to me, a lot more. Now what I make her do is that, and so it's something that we do as performers here at the university level. We have to introduce our pieces before we perform. So we have to say, for example, hi, my name is Angel, and today I'm gonna be performing Yada Yada by Yada Yada. So at least with that, I make sure that my student is ready to at least see what's coming. Okay. So yeah, definitely introducing themselves, introducing the piece, having them to talk more to you. It will definitely make them feel like they have a better connection first with their teacher, and will make them feel more comfortable with themselves. Okay, eventually we want to get them to, if they're performers, they have to be comfortable with themselves and with an audience. So it's different. Again, I talked about last class about being comfortable with yourself and having that stage fright managed. So believe me, the day of the concert comes, and I feel like who is more anxious than anyone else in the whole place is me for my students, because we care for them and we want to make sure they do good. So going back to all the things that I've talked about, making sure they're well prepared, it's very important. Making sure they perform in front of people, that's also very important. Explaining the whole process is definitely gonna make a huge difference. Believe me, if this is their first recital, I've had 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds that go into their first recital and they just look panicked, they look pale, they look at me, and I'm like, hey, don't worry about this. You have practice, you know this. You're gonna do great, and you really never know if it's really gonna come out good, because like I said, this whole thing is not like a formula, proven steps that if you do this is the outcome that you're gonna get. You never know what's actually gonna happen the day of the recital, so why bother before, I would say. So definitely making sure they're well prepared and they're ready to perform. It's definitely gonna make a huge difference, and it's gonna make you as a teacher feel more comfortable with your teaching. Okay? Alrighty. So that will do it for today. If you guys have any questions, just put it down in the comments. This today wasn't very oriented towards music, but it's good to talk about these things if you're planning on eventually teach one day. Okay, so yeah, take care, guys. See you guys next week.